Hey guys, it's Katie with S&B, and today we're going to install the particle separator on the 2020 Polaris Pro XP. We're going to start by removing the bed and removing these 4 bolts. In order to remove the bed, you'll pull up on this handle and pull out. Now we're going to remove all of these bolts and these push pins. You'll want to notate the length of each screw to remember where to put them back. Remove this push rivet from the underside of the panel to release it. Now you're going to need to remove the back of both back seats by pushing in and pulling out. And then if you have a 2-seater, there's going to be a latch in the front and you'll have to remove the entire front seat. Now that you have access, you can remove the last 3 screws that are securing the body panel and this push rivet. Now we're going to need to push this gasket through, and you can take the cap off to make it easier. Now you're going to remove the body panel, and there are tabs down here that you're just going to pull out. Next, you're going to remove both back access panels by turning all of these 1/4 turn fasteners a 1/4 turn to the left, and they'll just pop out, and then you can pull it off. Now we're going to remove this tube by loosening these 2 clamps. We're going to remove the stock side cover now. So there's 1 bolt here and 1 bolt here. The easiest way to remove the side cover is to pull this out and up, and then you can remove the side cover. Now you're going to install the bracket for the particle separator, and to do that you're going to remove this screw and then you will reinstall it in place. Now you're going to install this bracket using the screw that you removed from the stock side cover. You don't have to tighten it down yet, loose is fine. Now you're going to install the particle separator into the brackets. And loosely install the provided hardware. Once these are loosely installed, you're going to remove this bolt and then you'll reuse it to install the bracket. Once the bracket is loosely installed, you'll then go back in with the provided hardware. Now you're going to go back to all the screws and tighten them down while holding the separator up. So you're going to install the larger end of the coupler onto the intake tube and the smaller end onto the air box. And it is easier if you install the air box first, and then you can rotate to fit on this coupler. Then you'll just tighten down all 4 hose clamps. Now we're going to install the ignition sensor, which controls our whisper fan technology. You'll want to note the alignment of the tabs, where the front one is over the bottom one, but still touching. You'll want to install it the same way. Now you're going to install this on the positive ignition coil wire, and you're going to want to install it about 1 inch down, so if the heat protectant is all the way to the top, you'll just pull it back. We already removed the top tab and secured the wire in between the two tabs, so now I'm just going to tighten it down. Now you're going to put a zip tie on both sides of the sensor to keep it in place. Now you're going to snake the connector through the hole above the heat shield, and then you'll secure the wire using a zip tie over here. Now pull it through. Next, you're going to flip both of the back seats. That way you can gain access to all of the screws, securing the bottom panel so you can remove it. Now you're going to remove the rivet that's only on the passenger side. So depending on your seatbelt setup, you might have to remove some attachment points in order to get the bottom panel out. And then you'll just have to shimmy the bottom panel a little bit. We already got it out. And then you can just remove it. Next, you can just pop off this back panel. Now you're going to remove the 8 screws that are securing the center console just on the passenger side. And to make it easier, we're going to move the seat forward to remove the back 2 and then push it back to get the remaining ones. Now you're just going to lift this tab so you can remove this screw. Now we're going to remove the cup holder. Now to remove the dash console, you're just going to use a panel popper and lift in these 2 tabs. Now we're going to route the harness by taking the gray connector and inserting it through the access hole in the dash down to the passenger side. Now we're going to route the harness through the center console, and you're going to want to pull this out a little bit so you're able to get this in through the middle, and then you're going to be able to pull it out through the cup holder. Once you have it out a little bit, you'll be able to tuck in the remaining underneath the panel. Now you're going to route the harness through here and underneath all the way out here and then pull it out. So now you just need to finish routing the harness. So you're going to push it under here and then pull it all the way around, and then once it's over here you can connect it to the Y-splitter harness. You want to get familiar with the Y-splitter harness. So the only female connector is going to connect to the main harness. The 4-pin connector is going to connect to the ignition harness, and the 3-pin is going to connect to the scavenge fan. Now I'm connecting the main harness and the ignition harness to the Y-splitter. Now you're going to route the scavenge fan connector up and over the tube so it just sits on top. Now attach the 3-pin connector to the scavenge fan connector and then zip tie it to hold it in place. So now you're going to bunch up the ignition sensor and the Y harness, and you're going to zip tie it to the frame, and then you'll zip tie right here as well. Now you're going to want to zip tie the harness to the frame away from any hot or moving parts, and these are just some examples of where you can attach it to. Now you're going to plug in the pulse connector to one of the openings on the dash. You'll want to pull on the harness that's coming up from the center console just to make sure that it's tight, and then you'll bunch up the rest of it and zip tie it together. Now we're going to unclip this air box and we're going to remove the old seal and put in a new one. And put it back on. So now that all the wiring is done, you're going to want to turn the key 1 click, and then with our new whisper fan technology, you're not going to hear it. So you'll have to come back here and put your hand by the exhaust and you can feel the air. So that's it. Now we're just gonna put it all back together.